In the arid plains of Tsavo National Park, Kenya, at the height of the dry season, when the earth was cracked by the heat and the Galana River was a trickle, researchers from the Kenya Wildlife Service came across an unusual sight. Among a herd of 15 African elephants, a small calf, about 3 months old, stood out. Its trunk was missing in its place. Only a short, healed stump was visible. The baby elephant was named Ami, which means life in Swahili. Lead researcher Dr. Leela Nguru wrote in her journal, "In 20 years of work, I have never seen a trunkless elephant survive for so long." Ami is believed to have lost his trunk because of a wire trap used by poachers, who were arrested 67 times in Tsavo last year. Such traps, intended for antelope, maim approximately 200 animals in the park annually. An elephant's trunk is a miracle of nature, with 40,000 muscles that allow it to lift up to 300 kg or pick up a blade of grass. Without it, Ami faced enormous difficulties. He could not eat, drink, or communicate properly. Observations showed him clumsily kneeling, trying to grab grass with his lips, or plunging his muzzle into water, often choking. Initially, scientists doubted Ami would survive more than a week, but after 2 weeks he began to surprise. Ami learned to gather grass with sweeping head movements and to dig small drinking holes with his feet to avoid putting his face in the water. These adaptations allowed him to consume approximately 65% of the food and 90% of the water needed for a calf his age. Even more striking was the herd's behavior. The matriarch, an elderly female named Nala, slowed the group's progress to ensure Ami kept pace, sometimes delaying the herd for 20 to 30 minutes. 2 young females, likely Ami's sisters, dropped leaves from low branches for him and packed mud near water holes, creating shallow puddles accessible to him. When hyenas were spotted nearby, adult elephants formed a tight circle around Ami, checking his position with their trunks. Social interactions also changed. Elephants typically touch each other with their trunks to communicate, but Ami used his head, rubbing against others. The herd reciprocated, leaning in to facilitate contact. Scientists recorded the young elephants waiting for Ami to drink before drinking themselves, a rare display of care in water-starved conditions. By the 5th month, Ami began to gain weight, although he remained 10% smaller than his peers. His shoulders and neck became stronger, and his lips became dexterous, almost like a trunk. At night, cameras captured adult elephants digging up roots and leaving them for Ami. Dr. Nguru noted, "This isn't just instinct, it's purposeful care, almost like a social culture." By the start of the rainy season, Ami began to play more actively with his peers, using his head as a trunk. He even began to mimic the herd's defensive maneuvers, standing next to the adults when threatened. His presence transformed the herd. Other elephants began to imitate his method of foraging for grass, which proved useful in dense vegetation. Ami's story, which was widely published in scientific journals, inspired many. His case demonstrated that in complex social groups like elephant herds, survival depends not only on individual strength, but also on community support. Dr. Nguru Samuel Kiprop, a neurobiologist, explained, "Elephant brains, with their 257 billion neurons, allow for behavioral reorganization, and their social structure enables remarkable adaptations." By the age of 1, Ami had become not just a survivor, but a full-fledged member of the herd. One morning, standing next to Nala by the river, he raised his head, catching raindrops in his mouth, as if playfully. It was the moment when scientists realized Ami didn't consider himself inferior. For him, this is just life. Ami's story highlights that nature is more resilient than it seems. It teaches that survival isn't just the struggle of an individual, but also the strength of a community. In a world where elephants face poaching and habitat loss, Ami reminds us that preserving their social bonds is just as important as protecting individuals. Friends, thank you for taking the time to read this story. If it touched your heart, please like and subscribe to our channel to support us. See you in future wildlife stories.